So for our lovely Miss M, I wanted to work a little bit more with some of our loose leash walking, but then also throw in a little bit of that front behavior and a few other little skills. So for our lovely lady, I know that a lot of times having company over is difficult for her. So we may find, again, as I've mentioned earlier, management to be a better option when she doesn't know what to do. So if, let's say, she prefers to be on the right side, perfectly fine. I would recommend to, again, for your arsenal of supplies, is to use your gear in the home. So that way, if gear comes on, it doesn't always equal the bringer of something new or exciting. So if, let's say, company's coming over and that's the one time you slap on the harness or you slap on the collar and the leash, that's going to start to equal that the leash and this gear is the bringer of that new thing. So we want to make sure that while Miss M is practicing, that at times gear just means we're going to work a few easy peasy skills and then go right back into doing not much for the day. Excuse me, I was just drinking seltzer. So for the lovely lady, if, let's say, she is having a hard time with something, sometimes bring it down into simpler skills. So I know we love doing the find it. I was mentioning those pattern games might be very helpful. Another thing that I love to work on is also the front behavior. So let's say for front in the beginning, we're going to start off with the dog in front of us and we're going to bring them into our space and feed for that. So what I'm teaching Miss M is as you come into my bubble, good things happen. So the benefit of a front is you can then start to use this even while doing some loose leash walking later. So again, I'm going to go front and a feeder for the front position. So in the beginning, front does not have to be a sitting position, especially if this is very new to your dog. You don't have to go into a front and then into a sit, though that can be for later and you can start to get more and more closeness as she's doing well. So, but the benefit of these lovely fronts, she's like, lady, I hope you dropped one. So let's say we're walking, my puppy gets ahead of me or there's something coming up. I sometimes like to bring my puppy into the front of my body to avoid another behavior or distraction. So sometimes maybe that is company coming over and we need to regain focus back on us versus the environment. So as Miss Lovely is meandering, she could be doing some loose leash walking, then all of a sudden we may go front and bring her back into the front of our body. You may find in the beginning to teach a front, the easiest way that I like to do it is have the dog in front of you already and then feed her for as she goes into your space. So again, front, she said she didn't like those snacks, that's fine. She likes maybe the other ones better. Ready? Front. Yes. So again, you could just practice meandering through your hall and get your puppy to come into your space with a front. And then again, front. And of course, right now, as I've mentioned prior, you are going to be luring your puppy. So there she goes. She's like, oh, I noticed them now. So luring your babe is one of the fastest ways to create behavior. But remember, we want to fade out that lure. So eventually your front would have no snack. You'd go front, bring them into your space. Later, you would have maybe just a verbal or visual cue, and then you'd feed them right after as they're doing the right behavior or skill set. But for right now, if you need to help Miss M focus in on you and avoid the other distractions, luring her for now, not the end of the world. But remember, we want to have the food be the reinforcement for the skill, not always the food creating the skill, if that makes sense for down the road. So let's say for our lovely Miss M, we're going to do again a little bit with this loose leash walking. We could then go from being next to me to in front of me and then feed for that. The other thing I sometimes like to work on is getting your puppy back onto the side of your body. I know we were working on this a little bit earlier. So let's say, for example, you're practicing some of this lovely loose leash walking for Miss M. You're meandering through your environment, and this could be your yard or inside your home. And then you bring your puppy into front. But now that your puppy's in front of you and you want to keep walking, she's kind of in the way. So I like to then bring my puppy. So if she's on the right side versus the left, I lure her. She's like, lady, did you drop it? So I lure her slightly to the side of me and then reset her up next to my leg. And sorry if I bumped the mic. So that way she can be next to my leg again and we could continue on our merry way for some more loose leash walking. So if again, loose leash walking is going quite well for her, make sure that again, we're reinforcing for the skills that we're liking. Otherwise, the value of working this hard for us may not be worth it from her perspective. Also, remember that for a lot of dogs, loose leash walking is kind of the exact opposite of what they'd rather be doing. So, a lot of dogs tend to move much faster than we do. They want to explore the environment through sniffing and checking out all the nice odors and the environment and what it has to offer. And walking in a straight line from point A to point B is not really how they'd normally rock it. So, to turn them into a walker next to us that enjoys that concept, you may have to feed them for those behaviors, obviously, but then also sometimes give them little breathers to be a dog throughout the walk. Oh my gosh, chewing. So, if, for example, Miss M's like, hold on, guys, I did not chew that one. Oh, much better now. Goodness me. Oh, there it comes out. Good job. So, if let's say, for example, loose leash walking is difficult for your dog, don't forget to also offer sniffing and decompression throughout your walk as well. If your walk consists of your babe pulling you throughout the walk, then I'd say they don't quite know how to do loose leash walking anyway. And then you're adding in the difficulty of the environment, which might just be a double whammy where she gets flustered, you get overwhelmed and agitated that she's pulling, and then it's just no one's having a good day while working loose leash walking. So make sure, again, just like with most of the tasks and skills we've mentioned, try to work the behavior you'd like before you need it. So if, let's say, she doesn't know what a front is, we're going to have to practice a couple front behaviors before we expect it to happen in other environments. It also takes quite a bit out of your babes to work these skills. And remember, you have to start getting them comfortable with generalizing of the behavior. So I'm going to take little Miss M's little leash off for a second. She'd be a wild woman. So remember that if your babes can handle, let's say, a sit in the kitchen, could they do sits in different parts of your home? Can they do a sit on different type of textures? So like the carpet versus the hardwood floors. Can your puppies offer sitting positions outside versus inside the home? So a lot of times generalization is not really worked on as well as we think we do. And a lot of times, if you think about it too, your dogs do most of their skill set right in front of you. So if your puppy thinks the only place to do a sit or a down or check-in is right in front of you, then doing it by your leg while doing some walking on gear might be confusing. So remember that to show them what you'd like, you might have to, again, perform that skill at the very easy zone in many different venues and then start to refine those behaviors. So generalization is really important to really get an understanding for both your pup and you out in those real world situations. But remember, if the comfort range is not there, the performance won't be there either. So definitely make sure that comfort range is something we're thinking about while also working on skill set or building up concepts for her, like basic obedience. Nice job, Miss M. But she did a very good job. So we'll kind of maybe give her a little breather. And but she's been doing a nice job throughout the class. Ready? Find it. Good job.